Hi, this is Vicki Romaine with Cheerful Greetings, and today we're going to use a familiar item that we buy at the grocery store, and it is the none other toilet paper. I have a cup of water, and I have a stamp, and I'll be tearing this off square by square, and I'll show you what we'll be making here. Now, if you will look at my toilet paper, you will notice that it has a pattern on it. You can barely see it, but it has kind of a rose pattern. Now, I'm putting water on my stamp, getting it good and wet. If you notice, my stamp is on a block of wood, and my stamp's just a little larger than my square of toilet paper. So I'm going to put it on an angle. Now remember that I did this because I'm going to show you something after a while. I am pushing the toilet paper around the stamp, keeping it wet as I go along. In other words, I constantly wet my brush. And my brush is one of those hard brushes with long bristles, and so it can go down in the grooves real well. Now I'm going to put my toilet paper down at the bottom, making sure that I cover the stamp good. And this time I'm putting it at the top, making sure the top is covered good. And you will hear all sorts of birds in the background. The robin is feeding her chicks, and so they're making a lot of noise. Okay, I'm going to fast forward, and I'm putting layer and layer on. So I'm putting about 6 layers. If you notice, I'm turning my stamp around so I can see the sides fairly well and can push my toilet paper up against the sides without missing an area. I finished putting on this last layer. I will take it outside and let it dry in the heat, as it is 99 degrees today in Tennessee, and I'm sure it will dry and not take too terribly long with the heat from the sun, even though I will put it on the porch in a shaded area. Okay, my item here has been drying, and even though there is still a little dampness, I should be able to take this off. So carefully, I'm lifting the edges and removing it from the block and the stamp. Okay, the mold came off nicely. I have no problem with it. I can see the impressions and everything. I do have one problem, and that is the fact that I had the stamp has too many lines. It's just too confusing to pick out all the different parts of the stamp. Now, remember I said the first layer I put down was at an angle? Look at that top layer there. See the point? Well, I've just turned it upside down. See the point there where my finger is? That, I didn't like the way that worked out because I shouldn't have put it on at an angle. It worked better rotating the top and the bottom than it did at an angle. But the impression is good. It's just that the stamp is too complicated, I guess you could say, is too much of a good thing. So let's look and find us another stamp. Okay, I found me a dragonfly, and I've attached it to an acrylic block. And the lines of this are much more simple. And in fact, the whole design is not as complicated as that other stamp. So we'll see how this works out. Again, I'll be using my infamous toilet paper. And this is not your best brand. I don't buy the best brand, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, I'm putting my dragonfly in the middle of my acrylic block, and I'm wetting it down with water, getting the stamp good and wet. And this time you will notice that the toilet paper square fits over the stamp perfectly. And I do not have to do it at an angle. I can put it face down. I'm continuing with this process, smoothing out the toilet paper with my brush as I go. And I'm putting 4 to 6 sheets of toilet paper on there. It just depends on the particular time. And this should turn out better because the lines are much simpler, and we'll be able to determine exactly what the pattern is. You want to make sure you go into all the corners and crevices and push them down good. You don't want to be too hard or you'll tear the toilet paper. But by the time you put 4 or 5 layers on there, you can put right much pressure on it. Make sure you turn your stamp around so you can get it from all angles, and you can see the places that you missed better if you turn your stamp around. I lost a bristle from my brush, so I'm trying to get it off without digging into the toilet paper. Okay, my dragonfly has dried, and now I'm going to take him off the acrylic block. It comes off fairly easy if you let it dry. Even though this is basically dry, it still has some dampness, so I will let it sit probably overnight and dry completely. If you notice the design on the stamp, the dragonfly has a lot of little curlicues and all, and this is picked up on the toilet paper too. Now this one did fairly well at picking up the design. You see that the mold shows an embossed design and a debossed design. I'm going to use the deboss. I can use the stamp like a patch and use the whole section of toilet paper, or I can cut it out. And this time I'm going to cut my design out. I just have to take my time using the scissors and make sure they get up into the cutting area of the scissors so it'll cut smoothly and not tear the toilet paper. Here's what it would look like if it were to be a patch on a junk journal page. Before I cut it down any further, I'm going to color my dragonfly because I want it to have a little color and stand out more in my junk journal. Here is another dragonfly I made with toilet tissue. And it seems to be a little more crisp than the first one. I think it had maybe 4 layers on it, and the thicker one that I'm getting ready to color is, I think it had 6 layers of toilet tissue. I forgot to count. The green that I'm using is shabby shutters. And I'll be using a lilac color, which is shaded lilac. And they're the colors that I always see when I see a dragonfly. And I'm not going to have it colored completely. I'm just kind of giving it a touch of color. So this is what it would look like if we were to use it and let it be a patch on a junk journal page. But what I want to do is cut it out. So I'm going to use my scissors here, and I want to make sure the toilet tissue gets up into the scissors good, so it'll cut a nice clean cut. And I'll have to go at it at different angles so I won't get too close to my image. Now I have my image colored and all cut out, and I have another one I can play with later. I may make it a little darker, but for now, excuse me, this is the way I want this particular dragonfly. Now I need to find something to put my dragonfly on. I'll look in some of my pockets and folders and see what I have. I'm sure there's something here that the little dragonfly would look great on. Here's a folder I made on one of my videos. It has a little pocket. It's made out of wallpaper, and it has a card to go inside. And I think my dragonfly will look perfect on it. This is the front. That would look nice. This is the back. It probably would look better on the back. However, I want to be able to glue my little folder or pocket into my junk journal. So therefore, I'm going to put my butterfly on the front. And I can also use it to just lift it out of the junk journal and go through the pocket, and the butterfly would still be on it without being messed up. So I'm going to opt to put the butterfly on the front. The butterfly has been glued on the front, and so everything is just about finished. However, I think I need a little bling, so I'm going to put some stickles on my butterfly. This is my finished piece with the stickles and all on the wings and the body of the butterfly. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please make some comments and tell me what part you like or what you don't like about my videos, and come back and see me and see what I have in store for you for next time. In the meantime, don't forget, please subscribe. I hope you have a great crafty day. See you later. Bye.